Welcome to Soul Wilds. I am Kate.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome back. So excited. This is going to be a really good one, huh? You have the biggest smile on your face right now.
I don't know what it is about this one. I thought this topic was going to be my least favorite, but like with everything like going on, I'm so excited to talk about it.
So excited. So excited. So what are we talking about?
Guides of all beings.
So many.
Yes, there's so many different kinds of guides. So I'm just going to generalize it as guides for our topic. And, we'll get into the nitty gritty. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. So guides are set, and you can add your definition that you found too. What I found is that they are non-physical beings assigned to us at birth to help us attain our greatest potential on earth. And people may call them some of them are ascended masters, spirit guides. They have thoroughly mastered life's lessons, and they come through. I loved this. I was like, what are the chances of me finding this definition? They come through energetically as a guiding light or a North Star, which is why my practice what it was. I was like, hey, there's a little.
I just had a lot of stars in the reading you just did for me.
Yes, you did. Hey. Ooh. And I'm Aquarius rising. Ayo. So maybe you need to talk to your guides more. We'll talk more.
We know this.
We know that. I'm just saying for the viewers because they don't know what we talked about.
That's true.
But they've reincarnated many times over thousands of years. So they did this work. They've basically been through any situation imaginable, experienced the whole range of human emotions. So they are the perfect beings when we're talking about potential ancestors or spirit guides coming to us in the form of human. Now there are other guides Katie's going to mention that are a little different, but I liked this. They are referred to as totems by the Anishinaabe people, also called Ojibwa or Chippewa, or they can be called angels. They can be nature spirits. Those are the forms. They can be angels, nature spirits, animals. So this is exciting. How about you, Katie? What did you find?
Yeah, I think that was a really great, general, explanation and very similar. So if we, as humans, as we must categorize things, the Wicca book that I've been talking about actually categorizes them into 3 classes of guides, which includes ancestors, ethereal beings from nature, and the shining ones or the shining light. Now, shining ones or shining light are more of our angels and our deities. So this one maybe you didn't mention. So deities is in there too.
Deities.
And other ethereal beings, celestial type beings that have developed in their own consciousness completely outside of humans, without any human incarnation in their lifetime. They cannot, will not, have not been human on this earthly plane. And shining ones, obviously angels. Makes sense, right? I mean, in a lot of religious Bibles and studies and history, these angels are typically always surrounded by lights, thus the shining ones.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you said deities, because I guess I wouldn't have thought of deities as guides. I can already tell my mind's going to be blown. My mind's going to be changed.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, essentially, they're the shining ones, those angels, those deities, they are celestial beings. Again, they've developed outside of humans. They've never been human, and they won't ever be. And it makes me wonder, I wonder if some of them are like, man, if only I could just incarnate into the human life, but I cannot.
Probably not.
One of the really great words that I read that I really liked was pure radiant energy is how it was described. And I loved that because I think that can be relative to deities, angels, or guardians that people think about typically in religious practices, which is completely okay if you do. Yeah. We can't travel to the level that these shining ones ultimately reside, but they can go anywhere, that they wish to go. And they communicate with the other classes of guides, our ancestors and other spirit energies.
That's really cool.
So guides accept the spiritual task of helping humans grow spiritually. teachers. There are teachers that are guides. There are different types of guides. And they change over time for all of us. We can have different types and different people and different guides as we grow our spirituality, our spiritual gifts, our consciousness, our human nature, our spiritual nature. And there's also said to be like a master or like a chief teacher, which I thought was funny. Someone's got to be in charge no matter where we're at.
I can attest to that. Because I'm pretty sure I have one or two. Yeah, I know I have one. She's dope. Real quick, I kind of wanted to speak on how one's soul, if we're talking more of the human side, a human soul, spirit incarnate, reaches that level real quick. And then we can definitely dive into the types, because I think that's going to be freaking interesting, because I don't know much about it. There does come a point, obviously we've established, I believe in reincarnation, Katie. I believe to a certain degree you do.
I don't know what I believe. I'm just here for the information at this point.
Yeah. I just like to put it out there that let's just say that we do, because we're going to be postulating from a reference point that we are going to be talking about reincarnation, because that's how one attains a master level, essentially, or goes through soul kind of steps of becoming that level. There does come a point where souls will reach a certain level of ascendance, and they basically don't really need to come back here, and they're like, peace, we're done. They won't really learn anything new. And this is when they are given individuals on Earth to guide and follow through their lives. Some may even say that their guides are androgynous, so they don't necessarily have a gender and or sex. And I think some of that's like because of our own conception of what that means. And so it may be easier in our human mind if they appear to us as female or male. But there are people that definitely have non-binary guides. So I did want to make that point. Just to share a little bit about mine, I definitely do have female and male. I feel like my first interaction with guides was a female. At that stage in my journey, I would have been more likely to not be afraid if I saw a female in my mind's eye. I would have been more likely to gravitate towards a female, and I still kind of am. I'm definitely more gravitating towards like my feminine ancestors, my feminine guides, all of that stuff. But then later, as I did a lot of healing on my journey with men and masculine energy, it kind of makes me emotional that like I did meet some two amazing male guides and an amazing male ancestor, but they knew that could only come after I did some healing around that. And I love that my guides knew like what they had to do. So they will never come in and scare you. They will never come in and like be in corporeal form if they know that that's going to freak you out. Your guides are definitely here to have, they should be at least, have loving connections and to kind of know your limits. They will challenge you, but to begin off, they're not going to like come in and like be like, hey, and like freak you out. So
boo.
Woo, woo. And then you run like, oh my God. And yeah, like, oh man, she's off the path now. She's never come back. But I also assume just from work, and I'm sure that this, as I grow in my spiritual journey, that this will also change. Many of my guides are ancestors that I have, but I'm sure that some of them aren't. I know at least one of them probably isn't, but I have connection to them somehow, maybe through a past life. But the point of reincarnation is so that the soul can evolve. So we learn more. Obviously, it's like taking a class over and over and over again. The more we learn, with the more lives we have, our vibrational energy will rise if we learn those lessons. According to the book that I read, so not everyone may subscribe to this. I'm not entirely sure that I do, but it is Psychic Spellcraft, a modern day Wiccapedia of divination and intuition rituals. It's a really great beginner's guide. I'm holding it up on the video. It's really great for people to kind of jump into if you don't know much and you want to get your feet wet. It is not an end-all be-all compendium of all of this stuff, but they do say if you subscribe to this belief system, there are many planets where we can be born, but Earth is said to be one of the more difficult places. And I've heard this from multiple people who speak about past lives, Dolores Canon, the Michael teachings, people who subscribe to that, which I'm going to talk about. Not saying that I necessarily subscribe to everything they say, but it seems to be corroborated that Earth is for the streets. It's a rough place to be. The lessons are harsher, but we achieve a way more here in a shorter period of time if we choose. And yes, we do have a choice from what I've read. And I know it's hard. Like, I struggle with that concept. It's hard to conceptualize the idea of choosing to experience certain things. I don't know if I necessarily agree with contracts. That's another discussion for another day, especially when some people may experience things like childhood illness, murder, rape, genocide, suffering. Like, that's hard for my human mind to conceptualize, but maybe that's part of my journey. So I say things like that with caution, and I think the truth will be revealed as time goes. I don't have to know all the answers right now. I can't conceptualize it, but it is said upon death, we understand all of the questions that our earthly mind had, at least in this book. That's what they've come to understand. And obviously spiritually, the spirit, soul, universal consciousness, we don't view things through the human lens. So our concept of understanding is much beyond what we have now, and fear isn't really necessarily a part of the outlook when we're deciding to come down here. And no one forces us to incarnate. Dolores Cannon said that Earth was a tough place in many of her writings, and she received a lot of her info from conducting hypnosis. She was able to get her clients to go into a very deep state of somnambulance. So basically, they were so deep into hypnosis, she took them to such a level that they didn't even realize that they were in session. They were fully in that lifetime that they were in. And I've never been to that state of meditation or hypnosis, because I think I got some things, if we are to believe in past lives, I do think I have some things in my past lives that do kind of give me pause and or scare me, but I would be really interested to one day experience some of that. So going into a rundown of the 3 stages of soul development for these people that ascend, it's really important to note there are hundreds of subcategories in between these. There is the novice soul, so exactly the way it sounds, new soul, young soul that hasn't reincarnated much over time. Characteristics that are really blatant for these are selfishness, narcissism, aggression, and they can be abusive or cruel. Spite and jealousy are also sometimes trademarks of new souls. They don't necessarily show sympathy or compassion and can be cruel to animals or people. Then you have, and whatever's between that, and then intermediate souls. They have reincarnated many times and have attained a certain level of spiritual understanding. Generally, they have some interest in religion or faith, no particular belief system. They are generally kind, caring, compassionate, and hardworking. They have high morals and show generosity. And they have longing, and they want to go the distance to improve their spiritual state, but they just have a long way to go because they're not quite there yet. And then finally, advanced souls. Old soul would be grouped into this. Master soul would be grouped into this, if you are familiar with the Michael teachings. And an advanced soul has almost nearly fulfilled that reincarnation process on the earth plane. They have lived thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives, and have experienced nearly every human emotion possible. It is doubtful that you will meet many of these souls in life, as they are few and far between. They have a godly presence about them. They are completely selfless and have great understanding. They value the lives of others more than they value their own, and will not have to return to the earth place very much because they are already advancing rapidly. Once they have completed their spiritual learning by reincarnation, that's when they go on to be guides, or they will return as what is termed in the book earth angels to help people with life problems. And this is taken from the Psychic Spellcraft book. There are many theories of these stages. I had mentioned the Michael teachings. It's a book by Chelsea Quinn Yarborough, and it's like a whole group of people that channel these messages. I haven't dove very deep into this, so I can't say that I know a ton about it, and I can't say that I completely subscribe to whatever this group believes, but I thought it was a good reference to pull from, because they also have a way of looking at the soul path to ascendance. And this is taken from the website. When I say Michael teachings, Michael is the entity that's made up of many, many souls that have gone through progressions of reincarnation, and they have messages apparently for us. Michael is a causal plane teacher, and the causal plane is an intellectual dimension directly above the astral plane. So it is an emotional dimension. We dwell on the lower astral plane between lifetimes. They are a group entity consisting of 1,050 souls working in cooperation who have completed their lifetimes on the physical plane. Michael communicates with us through an age-old process known as channeling. You may see channeled messages on TikTok and all that stuff. Always be discerning, just saying. In channeling, an individual allows a discarnate being to speak through him or her. There are several Michael channels who in many cases channel different members of the entity, and they believe that there is a 35-step reincarnational process, and I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of steps. Like, this is overwhelming. I don't want to think about it too much. We go through 5 major steps during the process, and then within those 5 major steps there are 7 levels or stages to be completed. So first stage is infant soul and baby soul. Then third stage is young soul. Excuse me. First stage is infant soul. Second stage is baby soul. Third, young soul. 4, mature soul. 5, old soul. So if we are taking that and kind of putting it into the first kind of thought process that I said, I would imagine infant and baby are the novice. Young might be intermediate, mature, maybe halfway into mature is like intermediate as well. And then the rest of mature soul and old soul are the advanced. So the theory is corroborated by someone else who subscribes to the Michael teachings. His name is Michael Newton. He also channels Michael. He is said to channel Michael. And he's also a hypnotherapist. So I feel like I hear a lot of similar things from people who practice hypnotherapy, and hopefully it is very ethical and moral. And he's written about people who recount one life and then the next, and then the level of consciousness. And basically, though, the summation of this is each step can take many lifetimes, and the whole journey itself can take well over 100 lifetimes. So I'm just like, holy moly, there's a lot to unpack here. But that is to say, it is not easy to become an ascended master at all. A good guide. It is not freaking easy. So man, I gotta hand it, if we are subscribing to this belief system, I gotta hand it to my guides. Like, holy moly, you guys did work.
Wow. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
It's crazy, like, how long that process is. It's also interesting to me that it's conceptualized in, like, a human development way.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah. Of
through
course
age.
it would have
Yeah.
to make sense for us to be able to talk
Yeah.
about it. I'm sure it's very different, though. It's like same but different.
And, you know, hypnosis, meditation, regression, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same in terms of that's our way of slowing down and connecting to
Getting into
the
those
other
theta
realm.
waves.
Exactly. And you touched on so many things that I'm going to go more deeply into, and I can't wait to see some of the differences. Honestly, there's a lot of different types of beliefs out there, because, and there always probably will be, because we really don't know what happens or what that process is, because here we are. 10%, if you remember, 10% of our brain.
10%, baby.
But you know, so it's just interesting to hear the different perspectives. Like, that one was interesting. I wanted to also say, so to connect with our guides send us messages in a lot of different ways. Dreams, through different signs in our physical world, through songs, books. Don't shit the bed, Katie, or Kate. Podcast. Hey. Podcast is on the list. I'm talking to both. I said Katie. I meant Kate. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm just like, when I read that, I was like, shut the front door.
Yeah.
Like, who knew? Maybe we're channeling.
Just as a caveat, maybe you're channeling to me, because when I was young, all of my family and friends called me Katie.
So. Oh, maybe. That was weird. I don't even know why that came out that way, unless I was talking to
Maybe
myself
someone
too.
needed to tell me to listen to a podcast.
Yeah, crazy. So podcasts. I don't know how podcasts got on that list. This was on like a print book from like, when was this even printed?
Interesting.
2006 was the first printing. So I don't
I
crazy.
don't know if podcasts were like,
I know.
maybe that person was prophesizing a little bit.
Oh my gosh. People. So we can get messages from the people around us without them being aware of
Yes.
it. Through
Yes.
metaphors, riddles, jokes, things that make you laugh. And also symbols, and sometimes overhearing conversations that are not your own can give you messages as well. Not to be paranoid of looking for messages everywhere, but just opening your third eye and welcoming any messages that's like, oh, that's weird, that hits different.
Yeah.
Like that
Disclaimer. Yeah. Not everything is a sign. That is something everyone struggles with early on in their journey. I did it. I'm sure you did it. Like sometimes we still do it. Not everything is a sign. Yes, angel numbers are a thing, but what is it called when like you're aware of it so you look for it and you see more of it? That's actually like a phenomenon and I forget what it's actually called.
Yeah.
So just remember that there's like obviously psychology mixed in with this, but yes, there are signs. Sometimes it's a hunch. Sometimes it's you wake up and you have a bad feeling in your stomach. Your guides can communicate to that way where they send us specific things and like or feelings that we interpret as our own. Can't even be your higher self giving you information. Like all of those can be messages from your guides and even objects. I did want to bring up real quick objects because I didn't know that this was a thing and I may mispronounce it. I think they are called apports. I think it's APPORTS, and they are basically physical things that are formed out of non-physical means. They just appear. So it can be like random objects that you don't know. I just had a realization, but anyway, we'll talk about this later. They can just be formed out of nowhere and you have no idea where they came from, and you're like, I found this in my laundry, or I found this near my bedside. And you're like, where did that come from? Because no one else is saying that they left it there. I don't know how I got it. A random crystal just showed up, or like whatever it is, and now it's mine. And also, a lot of people connect to this because I feel like it's kind of not necessarily an old wives' tale, but it might be a story passed down. But feathers. A single white feather can often be sent from the spirit world and represents angelic influence and that we are protected and watched over. So, yeah. And usually, I do want to say I was correct. I just couldn't see it. The apports actually, or apports, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Sorry, guys. But they usually mean something to us. For some reason, there's like a specific meaning that maybe only we will understand, or maybe we're a cross watcher meant to gift that thing to someone else and it means it's something to them, and they're like, how did you know? And you're like, I didn't. I just felt like I should give it to you. But yeah,
it's true. It's happened.
Very interesting.
So we know how guides communicate with us now. How do we communicate with guides? I kind of want to talk about briefly, and we can do it. I mean, there's so many ways and we can communicate back and forth through our senses, through visuals and meditation or sleep, dreams, just as I said before, auditory and visual communications, signs and symbols, all the things I just said. But also you can personally set intentions in your mind. You can write them down. You can make them more permanent. You can simply just ask. You can pray, or you can set intentions before you go to sleep for your dreams. And like journaling is a good way to do the writing part. I've brought up journaling since the beginning of time of this podcast. And one thing that Sonia Choquette mentioned is no request goes unanswered, but you may not notice the subtleties of the signs or help that's being provided to you. So you need to work on accepting and opening and receiving your messages in these ways and communicating back or asking for what you need. So be open to guidance, be quiet and listen, sincerely ask for help, let the spirit move you, receive the guidance and open to take action. You have to be open to take the actions you need to make. You can't just put something out there and sit and wait. I mean, you can, but likely there's some form of action that's required from you because free will and all the other things that they cannot, these spirits cannot do for us. We are here living our human life. So we have to make those physical efforts. Forgiveness and non-judgment are super important as well for meeting your guides, communicating with your guides, and having that free flow with your guides. Working on visualizing and seeing your guides, be here and now in the moment. Practice daydreaming if you're not someone who is a visual person. Ways you can start to exercise your visual brain or your ability to think in this visual way is by practicing daydreaming. Guides keep it simple. That's the big message. Guides keep things very simple. A lot of times light is involved. They can change their frequencies to be seen by you, but that requires your consistent practice of communication and your consistent practice to see beyond the physical for them to even be able to put the energy into shifting for you to notice.
Yes. It's often us that complicates it, isn't it?
It is. We're complicated.
Yep. We love to make things hard sometimes. Real quick, I would like to add, write it down. Write it down. If you have a dream, and dreams are the main form that you feel like you get information from guides once you realize, dream track. Keep a journal right next to your bed. That way when you wake up, you can write down everything immediately. Because like Katie has said, it can come in any form. It can even come in the form of a job. And I feel like I'm being told something right now. Like, don't look down on it. Don't think, well, it needs to be this way because I'm speaking from experience. It can be an opportunity that looks a little bit different than you thought it would, or it can be something that happens.
Are you telling me you're moving to Maryland so we can open a business together?
Yeah,
that's what you're telling me.
It can be that
that's what you meant.
I'm speaking some truth. It could be that you lose your job because you were not meant to be there. And it sucks. But guess what? It takes you somewhere else because they're there to guide you and to protect you and to take care of you and for you to realize that you have all that you had. There's someone else that needs to hear that message because that was something that I need to hear. You know, random people you meet, all that stuff, but write it down. In a lot of things that I was reading to prepare for this, the overarching theme was also, Katie and I also talked about this, have a meditation practice. That is a way that you can slow your mind, get it to the theta state so that you are more open to hearing, to actually listening. A lot of people hear, most of us who can hear, but we do not listen. We aren't open enough to really, it's like that selective hearing where we only want to hear what you want to hear. That when you work with your guides, you're not always going to hear what you want to hear. Sometimes they will tell you truths that are very, very hard for you to accept, but that's the point. And it can take many years to build a meditation practice.
I've been doing it since 2017, guys. I am still not
I've been doing it since 2015, 2016, and I feel like within this last year, I just got good at it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there is no timeline where you need to be a pro. The fact that you are doing it is more than enough. And meditation is, if you've ever heard of the monkey mind, it's that logical part of ourselves that just chitters and chatters. It's a way to bypass that left brain and to get into more right brain, get your state into a theta state, get your system into a parasympathetic state so that you are restful and you are open to communication. And real quick, I just wanted to list very brief steps included in one of the books that I used, where if you don't know where to start with meditation, you can listen to our wonderful episode where Katie went in depth, and it was sifting through our clutter, our mind clutter. That episode's great. Check it out because
And
she
just
had
to insert here too, I'm actually in the process of developing, I don't want to say program, but a series of steps for people who have never done this that they
yes.
can follow to start to enhance that ability and that practice. So it's
Yeah.
coming, it's in process, and my guidance with that has been my own experiences, but also experiences that others have shared with me with difficulty getting started, difficulty slowing the mind. I can't be quiet. I can't quiet my mind. I can't sit still. I am here for those people because I understand I've been there, but you can get here too.
Yeah.
So I want to have a resource out there for people. I'm not sure how or it will manifest, but I'm putting it together currently. So that's
Yes.
coming for sure.
Promote that. Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah, it might be in a journal type. It might
Yeah.
be I don't know, a PDF. I have no idea, but we'll see how it
Yeah.
manifests over time.
I hope one day it's a spoken thing. Your voice is so soothing. I think it
Oh,
would be wonderful. You're very welcome. So quick rundown won't be as good as what her list is going to be, but this is just really brief. Step 1, concentrate maybe on a part of your body. Start at your feet doing a body scan. If you feel safe enough, get into your body, even if you're just feeling your hands resting on the carpet or the floor beneath you, feeling your feet, going out onto grass. Touch some grass, man. Connect to the earth. 2, breathe steadily. This one's going to be hard because sometimes when people focus on their breathing, it can get you into a panic. I'm one of those people, but through meditation, I've learned to really slow my breathing. So breathe steadily, either through your nose and mouth, whichever is more comfortable. Take deep, slow breaths inward and exhale slowly. You can repeat that for a few minutes until you kind of feel your body come back down. And then at this stage, you should be more in a meditative state. You might not be perfect. Your mind might not be completely clear. And I hate to tell you this, it might never be completely clear. That takes a lot of effort to think of nothing. Not even thinking of nothing, just emptiness, emptying it all out because we're all cups that are full.
for perspective, there's probably one person on this whole earth, like
Yes.
Gandhi or something,
Mm-hmm.
that can actually do that.
Yeah.
So that can be a goal, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not easily reachable. And most often, I mean, not to say that it won't happen more. I would love to see more people that are able to do that, but the mastery comes with letting go and being your awareness of having those awareness of those thoughts than it does
Yeah.
actually focusing on the emptying of the mind. Because in today's world right now,
Go, go, go.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't
That's
see
a
it.
master soul. That's a master soul level. So do not be uh too harsh on yourself if that's not where you're at. And once you get into that meditative state, even if it's just a little bit, that's where maybe you can start to ask your guides for information. You can ask, I would like my guide to visit me. Are you there? Can you show yourself to me? You might see colors, patterns, shapes. A lot of times people describe that when I do Reiki with them. And just remember, some guides will not show themselves to you while you're awake. They might wait till you are asleep. You know better than you think. And I think in our conscious state, it's really hard for us to be open. So that's okay. You can always ask if you'd like, can you please show me your gender? Are you male, female, non binary? What do you look like? Things of that nature. And then finally, just tune in psychically. That's where developing those clairs are so important. I can list some research and some resources where you can develop clairs. If you're a TikToker, they're great people to follow. You can get your own psychic development deck where it's a muscle, practicing every day, meditating every day, practicing using your psychic skills, finding out which of the clairs, if we want to just categorize it, that you use to glean information is a really important first step to figuring that out. And it might take several meditations until you finally connect, but that is a great way. Automatic writing is a great way, which I won't get too much into, but that is also a psychic way to channel your guides. It's a great exercise to do after you do a meditation because you need to be in a trance like state for it to work. You can always, 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 before you open up your mind, I just wanted to put in here, ask for protection. Ask for protection. Even if you don't know who your guides are, all my guides, you could just say, I ask for protection from all of my guides, ancestors, angels, and higher self for my highest good, even deities, all my deities for my highest good, to protect me here in the space as I open my mind to work. And then once you are done with whatever you are doing, you close. So I now close this channel from all entities, energies that are not welcome in my space. I envision it like a door closing and locking. I only have the key, and nothing comes in or out unless it's for my highest good. With automatic writing, that's basically getting into that trance-like state and channeling, essentially, which is receiving. Remember how we said our spirit is what is connected to universal source consciousness. So it is being able to receive divine messages from that source, and the way you channel it is by writing. Also, you can type. If you don't like writing, you can just type. And if you are a beginner, the great thing with meditation and or automatic writing, set a timer. It doesn't have to be for very long. Maybe you can only meditate for 2 minutes. In the resource I used, it said for the automatic writing, set a timer for 15. It's better in short spurts. Some may write faster or type faster or scribble. The goal is to not have perfect grammar, spelling, or any of that. You're not going to be erasing anything that you write down. You can ask for your spirit helper to guide your hand. And maybe first you can write out a statement is, I'm asking, if you know their name, I'm asking so-and-so to come into this space and give me a message. And from there, you just write or you just type, and whatever comes out, comes out. Sometimes it's even just the shapes that you're scribbling in. Nothing is wrong in this, and this can literally just be a practice that you do to strengthen that muscle. So I think all of that is really interesting that I didn't even think about in terms of connecting to guides. But yeah.
You are your strongest guide. So putting time into yourself for sure is so important. Your most powerful guide is your own divine higher self.
Wow.
So, yep.
Yep. That's it.
So now that we know how we can communicate, what we need to do to come in tune with that, what can that look like? Sometimes it's astral traveling. Sometimes it's just conversation. Sometimes it's just visuals, kind of like we were talking about, or other types of messages. But astral travelers, this is something I learned that was kind of cool about astral traveling. You can actually meet other astral travelers on your journey when you're astral traveling, at least according to the book that I read. And I was like, well, dang, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to like have a spiritual community out there in the other world. That would be amazing.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, and astral travelers sometimes aren't always us and our consciousness. Sometimes it's other things, which I'll get into a little bit later. But our emotions have to be linked. Otherwise, the spirits that visit and that we visit wouldn't stay connected to us. So sometimes people think that there's no feeling per se once we're on that other side of spirit entity. They don't feel the same. They don't experience typical human like emotions or things like that. But there has to be some kind of memory or imprintation connection. Otherwise, we wouldn't have guides and ancestors and spirits that look out for us and care about us. They come with good intention. They come sometimes as duty, as deities, angels. It's their duty. But we have those members that attach to us because they love us and care about us. So there is some sense of love and emotion there. It's just not how we conceptualize it as humans. Yeah. So just wanted to say that.
I love that. Yeah. They're compelled.
Yeah. They attach themselves. There's some type of what I just visualize as imprintation or a memory kind of stuck with them that there's a meaning behind it.
I do feel, before you get into this really interesting stuff, I just feel I have to say it, for those who are adopted, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are blood related. They can still be ancestors through your adopted family. And those connections are just as strong, and they can be for your highest good, even if you feel like you don't fit in with your family, if you don't really have communication with your family that through adoption. And they can still be people who are bio related to you. Just because you don't know your bio family, you are not alone. So I just feel someone needed to
Mhm.
hear that who was adopted, because I struggled with that a lot. And I found, like, I'll get emotional, but like, I found so much healing through connecting with my ancestors, even though I wasn't necessarily connected with my bio family. So that's
Mm.
also why maybe exploring your ancestry is super important for anybody, because then you can maybe learn, how did your ancestors connect with guides? How did they commune? Because maybe those are the ways that you need to learn to do. And it can really be healing to connect with some of those practices, even if you're not blood related and you feel like that is a barrier, or because you weren't raised in the culture that you technically would have been born into. Like, you are not alone out there. So there are so many different ways to connect in that way
Yeah.
too. They're there
Thank you.
for
I'm
you.
glad you said that. I mean, it can be family members we've never met or laid eyes on in our life, you know.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
now that you said that, actually, it has me thinking. So I was trying to make sense of all this with my therapist the other day. And we talked a little bit about ancestry and past lives and things like that. And he shared a little bit of his belief, and I'm probably not going to share it to its full potential or how he did. But, when he looked at our past lives, he looks at it as, with a lack of a better word, like a bar system. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
exactly what he called it, but essentially time is circular, and all past and all future are occurring at the same time.
Yes.
And when we conceptualize a past life in our conscious mind, we conceptualize it into existence from the past or the future. And when we do that, we have if you think of like a bar connection to that now past life that we created in our consciousness. And everything is existing at the same time. And it's just interesting to think about it in that way, because I don't know, just wanted to note that, because the way, like you were talking about ancestors and things like that, we
Mm-hmm.
could be creating those level or bars of consciousness, but above all of these bars that all of these people are
Mm-hmm.
creating in consciousness is all the ultimate power, the ultimate collective unconscious, right, of everyone. Which is just
Yep.
another theory that I can't go in depth about because I don't know that much about, but he shared a little bit of that with me, and I was like, I don't know. I like you use the word subscribe. I don't know what I subscribe to. Right now, I'm just sifting through information. Like, this is pretty cool to
Mm-hmm.
learn about all the
That's
different ways,
okay.
but that's one theory.
That's
But
okay.
the way you were talking about that just reminded me of that. So I had to share.
Yeah, you're definitely on the right track, because I think it was in our last episode we talked, I just mentioned the movie Arrival, and that's essentially what it handled. It handled that, like, time is circular and it is all happening at once, and
Hmm.
there's many more
So hard for
revelations
me to
that come through
understand
that.
that. I definitely
Yeah.
have to look
It
more
is.
into it, but
I don't understand it, but I totally, like, vibe with that.
yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm not saying that I
I'm
totally
here for
understand it,
it,
girl.
but
I'm here for it, though. I'm trying to surrender and just, like, let it
let it
happen.
happen. But on another note, I'm gonna go into the level system a little bit deeper.
Yes.
I won't go into it too in depth, but just deeper than I
Yeah.
did when we talked about it in our last episode of the other world. And levels make more sense to me, but that doesn't mean it's more true or less true than anything else. So this is sort of a different type of theory from the one that I was just sharing. But these
Yeah.
7 levels of the other world I mentioned before, they contain different types of beings, and you
Mhm.
can't level up necessarily. But
Mhm.
let me talk about what they mean. So,
Let's
these levels
go.
have nothing to do with social class. They are no outward earthly appearance creates differences between these. No amount of time spent in worship changes what level you are on. They are based solely on spiritual consciousness and your spiritual growth over your spirit's existence, not just this lifetime. It is based on what level you fall into, is based off the frequency in which you're vibrating, of which that spirit exists. And that frequency changes based off consciousness and spiritual growth. These levels are thought, and a lot of is it shamanic or shamanic? I'm going to say it wrong. Cultures. Kate, you probably know.
I say shamanic, but it's
shamanic cultures. They look at these levels similarly to this, and they're inhabited by the nature spirit of animals, entities of all kinds, and created by strongly projected thoughts of humans coming and going between worlds. Which, when I read that, I was like, wow, that really links to what my therapist was saying, where it comes from, we conscious things into existence. I don't know how else to put it, which is hard to fucking understand. But if we're creating these things by just consciously being aware of them, man, is there a limit? It's just crazy. Anyway.
What do we talk about manipulation? Think about it that way. Like,
I guess,
creation, But anyway.
So the highest level is the supreme creating power. This is that, per se, collective unconscious. God, whatever that is to you, the supreme power is here at that highest level. The next to highest level are our gods, our goddesses, our deities. In this level, they all have their own temples and buildings and surroundings that match their belief, their persona, I guess I can say, which we created into existence. If you think about it.
Yeah, that's why I love American Gods, the book and the show.
The middle realms, there are several. It was a little unclear in the book how they were broken up, but I'm just going to talk wholly what we can find in the middle realms in general. In these middle realms, this is considered the greatest part of the other world. Not the supreme power, not our gods and goddesses, but the middle realms. This is where you want to be. And the more I explain it, the more we're going to be like, well, I don't even want to be here right now. Because when I was reading it, I was like, I want to be there. Why did I choose to come here? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. What were you thinking?
I know. It's considered the resting place. This is where all ordinary souls are between incarnations. So this is where you are between your human form or whatever celestial form that you take. There is a great council here. There's a special area for the Great Council where they have discussions and make decisions about life plans. And I'll get into what that means in a little bit. Here, there's also a sleeping temple. In this sleeping temple, this is where souls go who are confused, who are experiencing pain, who are continuing to perseverate on the pain and the existence of their human life and are not accepting their change in spirit. Here they rest and they process their death, they process their trauma, they process their whatever they need to deal with and heal from those impressions that their change and their life experience has put on them. This is a sleeping temple. They're asleep, which means they can still travel by unconsciousness is how I interpret it. Or consciousness. Anyway, so there's a sleeping temple. Beautiful. There are also other temples, schools.
That's why you need to sleep, so you can heal.
Know, right? Yeah, that's so true. Temples, schools, learning anything and everything imaginable that you could ever want to learn from the greatest teachers, period.
Yeah.
There are crystal gardens. There are flower gardens. There are meditation areas.
Yes.
And they live for art, music, libraries, temples. There are records here where you can work with a spiritual guide who is trained to share and help you understand the records of time.
Akashic records.
Not even time. Time doesn't exist there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can
Um,
look into your Akashic records for some
yeah,
people that may be familiar with that term. Just want to throw that in there.
angels are here, astral familiars are here, earthly animals are here. This is the
Yep.
area that is most visited by travelers when we astral travel. There are many layers to this middle realm, and it exists in many forms, but this is where we're traveling to. We do not have access to the next highest or highest levels with gods, goddesses, and the supreme power. They
Yeah.
can visit us in the middle realms, but we cannot go to
Oh,
their realm.
yeah.
It has developed separate from human existence. So when we travel, you look like you're about to pass out over there.
No, I'm having realization, Katie. Oh my
Mhm.
God. Go on. Just go on because um
So this is the area to which astral travelers go when they want to talk to their teachers, familiars, undergo astral initiation, or find ancient knowledge. That's a quote from the book. And when I read
mm,
this, I was like, I need to look more into what this initiation looks like because I wonder if I experienced it because I feel like I have. So that is really
Katie.
cool.
Okay. I want to make it quick because we have so much more information, but I feel like I've visited some level of this in my dreams as a child
Sure.
because when I was reading this, the one description of like the spirit world, obviously there are colors that we cannot even describe. Everything's just on
Mhm.
another level in the spirit world.
Mhm.
And they describe the clouds as being lavender and pink. Obviously, I have like major obsession with those colors specifically. My mouth was hanging open. My mouth is hanging open as you're describing this because I kid you not, when my childhood cat died, that was a huge learning lesson having that animal for me because I feel like it was a huge growing up lesson to care for another living creature. And it like convicted my soul a little bit because I don't think I was as caring as I should have been as a child because I there were some things I had to work through in terms of trauma from pre-verbal stuff. And when I had to put my cat down, that was like the ultimate most loving thing that I could have done for this animal because she was suffering.
Mm.
It was like either directly the day after I put her down, she came to me in a dream and I was in these clouds that I had visited before as a child, same colors, and my cat visited me and like communicated with me telepathically that everything
Mm.
was okay and that she knew she was loved as an animal because I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of guilt around her passing and like
Oh,
how I
yeah.
was as a child. Wow, like that's why my eyes got so big. I'm gonna cry. Like that's
I know.
crazy.
I felt that way when I was reading this because, I mean, I've traveled a lot in my
Yes, you had.
meditations, a lot. So trying to piece that together has been interesting.
Yeah, so your animals were
Then
there
there, after the middle,
when
after
you
the
were
middle
made.
levels, there's the lower middle level. In the lower middle level, souls that they're not evil, they're not considered evil, but they've separated themselves from the divine creating spirit here, and this might hit a little bit soft for or hard for you, as I know of some of your experiences in the past, but those who have committed suicide due to great pain,
Yes.
stress, or fear, but not suicide with the intent to harm someone else, which does occur. Like,
Like
I've seen that
family.
sadly before.
Yes, like a family
Yeah.
disorder. Yeah.
Like, yep. Um, so it doesn't include that, but suicide in the fact of you just have so much pain and fear and things in life, it is almost an escape.
Yeah.
Here, this is where those souls go, and the great council that I brought up earlier make and discuss decisions on a life plan for these people and set them up in a new situation and reincarnation for their soul's spiritual growth. Sometimes it's still not easy, and sometimes it is purposely in a difficult situation again
Mm-hmm.
because there are lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
But that is the ultimate job for this great council. And maybe there can be some relief in that, knowing that someone else is
Oh,
in
yeah.
charge of helping this person
Mm,
live and keep growing. So,
That gave some
um,
solace, and I've had peace about that
yeah,
for some time.
good, good. I thought about you when I was reading this.
Thank you.
Um, and then there's the lowest realm. The lowest realm are criminal like souls, the cruel, the unethical,
Yeah.
the unrepentant humans. They use the word evil if you believe that there are evil spirits, demons, um, are here as well if you believe in demons. And here those souls are reincarnated to the first body available immediately without the divine council's consideration of a life plan. So they can be reborn or reincarnated into whoever is next. It's kind of interesting to think about, because it's like, dang, like I could have came from there. We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. But I mean, maybe.
I mean, yeah, there's lower
there's
level
no
energy.
priority in if you are going to live your previous spiritual life in this way, there's no help or consideration or guidance in that. And you must find your own way in order to continue your spiritual growth and spiritual consciousness. So in a way, you can, I don't want to say level up, but I guess in a way, over time, you can choose to do better. I don't know.
Imagine going, if I'm thinking of this correctly, imagine going from that and potentially ascending, and how beautiful that is. That is redemption.
Can you imagine how long that takes?
Yeah, but I mean, hey, until that's like achieving your fulfillment. I don't really like the word purpose anymore. Humans and our purposes, like in soul, you humans and your purposes, you're divine, like all that stuff. But man, what a story that is, and like how beautiful that is to me. I don't know, man. That's gorgeous. That's cool.
I love that this is fitting with you so well.
Yeah.
So I do want to dive very, very briefly into these negative entities really quick. So with intent to protect yourself with white light. Imagine yourself surrounded by white light, in white light, giving off white light. You are naturally defending yourself this way from the possibility of any type of possession, if you will. Possession is different than what is thought, just based on movies and how horror films have kind of gone.
It's rare.
Your guides will usually not allow this to happen.
Yeah, they're like, hell no. Yeah.
Possessions can occur, though, when you invite this entity to be with you, to sit with you, or you experience some type of alcoholism, substance abuse. If you engage in habitual lying, cruelty, manipulation of others, and other negative thought,
murder, and hurting others,
rule behavior. These negative entities, how you can recognize if they are around you, you feel a lot more of those negative emotions. You feel disturbed, distorted. This thing causes trouble. They're also, what I think I like this term the most to describe these beings, is low vibration entities.
Low level. Yes, I agree.
They can be pushy, bossy, negative, try to control you, try to flatter you. They criticize others around you. They're psychically harassing you. They can be seductive or blame others. They can help victimize you. They distance you from other people. So a lot of these types of things are around substance abuse, unfortunately. It creates a weak spot when you have substance abuse.
Your body's
or if you're habitually creating disorder yourself, Negative entities speak to your ego. Higher guides connect with your spirit. They don't have to convince you or make you feel special or important. You already are. If this entity is trying and pushing to make you feel important, or trying to convince you that,
it's like blowing smoke up your ass. Think about it that way.
Yeah. If they're trying really hard, it's probably not going in a great direction.
Yeah.
Because true spiritual goodness does not have to convince you of anything. They naturally just know you already are. You know you already are. There's no convincing there. So when you are experiencing these feelings and or energies around you, or you notice any of the things that I listed, imagine yourself sending that entity, that energy, however you want to conceptualize that, into light, and tell them they are not welcome. They have only the power that you give them. They don't have the power over you, and they can be easily dismissed.
And that's your guides. Guides, guardians, angels, deities for my highest good. You can ask for their protection. You can ask for their help. I know, I agree with the white light. There are definitely, it doesn't necessarily have to be white light, but if that definitely makes you feel more radiant. There are so many different ways to do it. I think that's a really good starting point as well. But we can definitely, I think we should definitely talk about more about energy protection and energy manipulation in the future, because I think it's important to know that you are not alone in this.
I know we will.
Yeah.
Next month, we plan on talking more about hexes and curses,
Yeah.
so that might be a good time.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo! Got a little sneak peek into the future, guys.
Yeah, you are
Woo-hoo!
not alone.
But
yeah.
And a note there too, if you're experiencing like a lot of like chronic stress, you're feeling run down,
Yes.
you're feeling emotionally weakened.
Yep.
You are not that susceptible to a negative entity possessing you or taking control of your life. You're only slightly weakening your aura or your personal, like, spiritual self. It's possible, but it's so unlikely because you have the protection of your spirits and you have good intention.
Now, that doesn't mean
it's when you have distortions because of those addictions that create those really hard weaknesses and vulnerability.
Now, over time, I will attest to, over time, chronic stress can take its toll in terms of weakening your auric body, because I myself, and maybe one day in the future, I will go more into this. It's still, it's hard to conceptualize for me, and it's hard to talk about, but it can most definitely make you more susceptible if you are not maintaining your physical body and your mental health, which is why it is so important to do both of those things, because we don't want to lull you into a sense of false security. For possession itself, yeah, pretty darn hard. Now, for influence and or attacks, quote unquote, I use that word very loosely, it definitely can. So maintaining your physical health, your spiritual health, your mental health is all very important, and being able to decipher, is this bipolar? Is this schizophrenia? Like, let's not shy away from any of that. Like, your guides will never speak to you in a harsh tone. Like Katie said, they will never demean you. Now, schizophrenia, bipolar with hallucination, that can be very harsh. Those can be telling you to harm someone else. So, those can make you very paranoid, among other disorders. So definitely taking that very seriously and getting the help that you need. Again, mundane before magical. We always want to be maintaining the mental health aspect of this, because they can be easily confused, and we never want to lead someone down that path of thinking, oh, it's my spirit guide speaking to me, when maybe we need to talk to a therapist or a psychiatrist and get on some good meds.
And I don't in any way want to doom those with addiction. Yeah. I have family members currently struggling with addiction. I myself have struggled with addiction in the past.
Yes, me too.
And I understand to a degree. Everyone's experience is different. And I can say, I got out of mine very quickly. Not everyone gets to do that. If you get stuck in this, oh, I'm doomed now, I'm more susceptible to negative energies, you're victimizing yourself. And that's not you. That's this negative energy spirit around you. Don't get stuck in the victimization, the poor me, that I can't get out of this, those negative thoughts about yourself. Finding the support you need, like Kate said, and the people around you that you need to start making better decisions and helping yourself be the best you can be. Sometimes addiction can be at least be slightly lessened at the time to help you get through your, like, there are lots of ways to get past it. Don't sit with the victimization is my main point. You are not doomed.
No, you're not.
Because of
Thanks for sharing. That was really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is hope. There's definitely lots of resources for addiction, and it will be a battle if you're experiencing that, but no, there is help out there. You're, again, the overarching message, you are not alone. Spiritually,
ask for help,
or physically, ask for help.
And sometimes because of these choices, these behaviors that you have, or the addictions that you have, you do lose some spirit guides. You maybe don't have someone in charge right now because of where you're at. I experienced this when I went and busting the door down trying to access my dad's spirit guides. Like, what the fuck you guys doing?
Yeah, where are you right now? Yeah.
they're not present. There's no one in charge. They're not doing their jobs.
Mhm.
No one's holding them accountable for following through. They're spirit guides. They're not angels. They have no duty.
Yep.
So they're just letting things roll, and no one's in charge anymore because of the consistent denial of help.
Yep.
So learn to ask for help. We talked a lot about that at the beginning of the podcast. So if you come from a background where angels are important to you, or angels can be important
Absolutely.
to you, just want to jump into angels really quick just for a little bit. El in angels means shining being. So that's the part of that word that comes back to the shining ones.
Love
So for some people, they are angels. In Catholicism, we got the 7 archangels: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, so on.
Mm-hmm.
Angels are celestial beings and messengers. They manifest in human form when we call upon them for help. They're always there to help. It is their duty. It is their job. When you call for them, they are there. They don't never not show up. It may not be in an obvious way, but they come.
do.
Then there are also divine helpers. They help you communicate with God, or that higher power, or the supreme being that helps lead life in general. The first angel that was sent to you, and this is based off of Sonia Choquette's book, talking about asking your guides, and in a little bit more religious background there. The first angels that are sent to you, they're your personal guardian angels. They are with you throughout your entire lifetime as a human. Then there are archangels. These are God's most important messengers. It is, again, their duty, their power. They have the ability to help you always.
Yes.
Always. There are thoughts to be others. Some that were mentioned by her were Metatron, who oversees all of the archangels. So again, always got to be someone in charge. And Sandalphon, who oversees inner earth as a gatekeeper. So they help clear your mind of emotions, protect you, ground you, bring prosperity, forgiveness, increase your intuition, those big things. Then there's the ministry of angels, the bringers of goodness. They bring you the gifts, delight, ease of life. They help you when you want to get along with others, meeting a goal, traveling safely, communication with the people around you or spirit, change that's coming that you're expecting. They help you with love. They help you with babies. They help you with that.
I love that.
Then lastly, the other kind of type of angel that she brings up is the SOS angels. These are the angels that are 24 hours, like
call,
medevac, like help for immediate emergency situations or circumstances that require haste. They have to be quick. They have to help you quickly. They have to solve emergency situations like accidents, lawsuits, surgery, paying a bill on time. So if angels speak to you, that's kind of how you can categorize them. And like, who do you ask for help when there are so many out there? When you come from a background that believe in angels, I know, like a big Catholicism, a lot of religious practices actually believe in those different layers of angels. How do you know who to call on? Because usually it's just like the archangels. That's like all I remember learning about. But there's and then Gabriel's like, I don't know, I gotta give this to somebody else. So kind of start work if that speaks to you, start working on who you're connecting with and how, and start to understand a little bit of that I guess its own level system within.
There's levels to it. But truly, especially for anyone who's skeptical, there have been multiple accounts, usually I hear it from people who've been in car accidents, and it's serious. There's someone's critically injured and they need help then and there, and the ambulance isn't going to get there in time, right? There have been multiple accounts of people seeing someone who comes and keeps people calm. They give them directions as to medically what can you do for this person who is critically injured. And then there's the account that the ambulance shows up, that person gets the help that they need. They look around and this person is gone. They have no idea where this person came. It's like an appert. They just like vanished 1 minute and gone the next. And they're like, who the heck was that man that I was just talking to? Is it adrenaline? Adrenaline can do some really crazy crap. I've experienced it being in a car accident myself. Is it a hallucination? I don't freaking know. But that person came that being came. Doesn't matter what it is. Who cares if it's in your head, right?
Does it matter? It's still your consciousness.
Doesn't make it not real, as Dumbledore said. And that person came, and that being came and was able to give this person guidance to literally save someone else's life. So hey, multiple accounts.
Yep. And, you know, Sonia actually even talks about like having at least 33 different guides that work with us at any given time.
Woo!
That includes these angels who she kind of conceptualizes as our bodyguards or foot soldiers. And then we have our spirit guides, which are our ancestors and families. And there are volunteers. There are volunteer corps or reserves. They have been earthbound before.
They know what's up.
Are there when we need them. They have similar challenges in earthly life. There are spiritual teachers. They're scouts and runners. They connect us with nature. They connect us with our body. They ground us. They find what we're looking for. They run around and find what we're looking for. Healers are part of this with healthy mind and body and soul. They help relieve emotions, open our hearts, and bring forgiveness. Inner world spirit guides, they help recover any soul parts of ourselves that are lost due to trauma. And animal spirit guides, which accompany guides and lead us along our journey. They kind of help with just the guiding. And I talked a little bit about animals in the last episode. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the term like elementals, because I found it fascinating that, I expected it in my Wicca book, but I did not expect it in my book with Sonia Choquette, because like I said, it comes from a more religious standpoint.
The crossover.
And she fucking absolutely still talks about this.
Love
so
that.
She says the nature spirits are wonderfully therapeutic. And when you raise your sensitivity to their presence and ask for their help, you'll immediately begin to feel their support. She's not just talking about spirit animals. She's talking about elementals as well.
Go touch grass.
Connecting to your earth spirit and Mother Nature for grounding. Connecting to water spirits. It occurs more easily in dreams. Can be cleansing and relaxing. Messages of emotional well-being and states or decisions and warnings related to making decisions. Connecting to your air spirits through breeze, tornado, and mental planes. They help energize us, calm us, clear our mind and souls. Holding your breath disconnects you from the spirit, which I thought was interesting because we do breath holds in yoga. Connecting with fire spirit excites our passion, initiative, creativity, clears the slate, raises our sense of can-do, our youth, and our timelessness. And I thought that was so interesting because I have told you this in the past, like when I do Reiki, I get sensations of like natural feelings.
Yes, you
like
do.
Cold stony rock, or the warmth over a still pond, or fog. I get these sensations. So now I'm like, am I connecting to these these elemental spirits of people? I'm like, I don't know. I'm on a whole nother brain journey with that, but it blew my mind. I was like, what the
I know
exactly what she's talking about.
I've seen myself with lightning and water.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I tap into those two. Lightning and water. So, hey, whatever way you got to do it to bring the healing, there's nothing wrong. Get out in nature, guys. It is so healing. Get around animals. They just are on another level. I just love animals so much. I feel like every time I interact with an animal, I'm healed. They're just so amazing.
And I want to explore I know I'm connected to animals.
Oh, for sure.
I've period.
It's 100.
Not a fucking question.
Yeah, it's not a question.
I need to explore that more, but I've had a sudden urge to explore the elementals more. And I've never ever in my life thought I would do that. And let me talk about elementals for a second. I mentioned it again in the past. Same. I'm like, I belong in the woods speaking to trolls. Like, that's it. Like, done. I am a fairy. I fucking knew it. So other spirit entities aligned with nature that are not considered guides or teachers, but are companions in a way, or of sorts. Those are elementals. They do not have human thoughts. They do not have human feelings, and they do not have human actions. So we cannot expect them to do that. We cannot order them around. They are their own things. They come as they will. They are attracted to magic, but they mostly like staying in their own realm, which is a level that we talked about, the 7 levels that they can reside. They're attracted to friendship and magic. So not just magic, but friendship. When you're giving gifts and you're recognizing them as a friend, not as a you give, I take kind of thing.
Well, how many cultures have land of the fairies, the fae, the faithful?
Oh, yeah.
So much crossover.
They're able to come into the human realm as they choose to. Again, if they're attracted to magic or have a very close friendship here. They include things, so earth element, some examples, and definitely not comprehensive, gnomes, dwarves, trolls, and large fairies. Air element, sylphs, zephyrs, tiny winged fairies, and elves. Water elements is, I might not say this correctly, undines, merfolk, and other fairies. And then we have our other, we could say fire element, but really they're considered more animal allies, salamanders, fire drakes, dragons. Again, very few of the collective, but
Frozen wasn't off
so
then. Frozen was not off when they did that movie with the fire element. He was a little salamander.
I thought of a lot of movies. I even thought The Witcher. I thought of, there's been a couple shows I've seen on Netflix lately that I was like, holy fuck, that aligns exactly.
Fantastic Beasts was pretty on. Like
oh yeah, Fantastic Beasts. What are some other ones that Carnival Row? There's another one, I can't think of the name of it, but so cool that people are seeing this and putting it in films, but we don't even notice that. And they're there. I mean, we see, going back to the very beginning when I talked about Hellier, they are initially searching for an elemental being that has been seen and that leads them into celestial shit. But
Marvel was on. Stanley, what did you know?
See, I mean, it's a thing. And you know what? Now it's starting to make more sense of like where they live, and like if Bigfoot exists, maybe he's in this realm, but it's not mentioned again in this Wicca book, like I said the last time. But yeah. So cool.
So cool. I'm so glad we touched on that. Thank you.
And kind of to segue that into like back to animals, we know animals, you mentioned totems earlier. Animals are often the totems or symbols for Native American cultures and other cultures too. Like Wicca is a European religion with ancient connections and shamanism. Shamanism is practiced across a lot of different cultures, and in Celtic clan totems, they used it for protection. To identify and honor animal allies. Sometimes it's given to full villages as a sense of protection, given to individuals during battles, given to certain heroes as a symbol.
Even if you look, especially if you're European, this will be more readily available to you. Looking at your ancestral sigils, I bet there's animals on some of your crests. 100%. My name,
and you can,
that I was like my birth name, Olive, so plants. So I said, Olive, old name in Spain. So there's just so many ties to land, animal, all that stuff.
It's so freaking cool.
It is cool.
And you can connect all of these creatures, animals,
plants,
elementals, through meditation and astral traveling. That's how you can connect friendship. You can make friendships with these things. Like I'm like, that's my next goal, is like I'm trying to meet some elementals and make some friends. I got some shit to do. They've been waiting. It feels like they've been waiting for me, and I've just been like not going.
We definitely need to talk more about plant magic, because that's also elemental as well with Earth. I feel like that's something I want to get more into.
I've been into plants in real life, so I've been doing great as a plant mom. I'm real proud of myself. But real quick, with all these animal and elemental talk, I wanted to mention very briefly shapeshifting, which is crazy to think about. But if we take away our conceptualization of it from TV and we think of shapeshifting as an illusion of changed appearance through practice,
like a glamour,
concentration, and alignment with your environment, it is more more consciousness than it is physical shapeshifting. Yeah, which is a really cool way that I think it's cool to think about, with like, because like historically witches could shapeshift, but temporarily into animals. That way they go unseen for very brief periods of time. Shapeshifting cannot be held for long periods of time, but it's an illusion that you create by aligning yourself with that animal and finding animals that sit heavily with you.
I love this.
For me, it has to be deer. Deer show up consistently in my meditations in real life. I get full body sensations when I pass deer that get hurt or have been killed on the road. I mean, I get that with all animals, but it's always been 10 times more intense with deer. So I'd be interested in like playing with that a little bit. But if you think, even if you practice or follow like angels, gods, deities portray themselves often as animals.
Zeus.
That's shape-shifting or partial animal, like in Egyptian culture.
Yes.
So to connect with your animals, start meditating and using statues, pictures, or they say naturally gathered parts, obviously ethically, right? Feathers or tufts of fur.
Yeah. I love this. And we're coming full circle real quick. Now that we've really run down with guides, deities, angels, just like an amazing summarization of all of that. I obviously got to throw in some crystals since we're talking about Earth. Some crystals that are really useful if you'd like to commune with your guides. I feel like we're both, you might fall off your chair when you hear these because it's very interesting.
Let me guess. Clear quartz.
The synchronicities are real. So let me list them. Angelite makes sense, summoning guides and angels. Amethyst, a calming stone used to enhance psychic ability and meditation. Protects against drunkenness. It is the master transformer. Clear quartz amplifies energy, master healing stone. Rose quartz relieves stress and tension, restores the aura by replacing negative energy with positive energy. Of course, it boosts that love vibration, heart chakra. Black tourmaline, a grounding stone that connects the earth with the human spirit and it aligns the chakras. Aventurine energizes the heart chakra for well-being and calm emotions. And carnelian improves concentration during meditation. Also, carnelian's like spark, passion, cardinal energy. It's gonna have you going forward.
I think that aligns with what elemental that you might be wanting to connect with: earth, fire, water, air.
Both of us, huh?
I feel like I'm like, okay.
Do you remember?
As your Cornelian dragon, I'm gonna have to.
Rah, rah.
Oh my god, so
like a dungeon dragon. It is the year of the dragon. So hey, man, we are being transported. I feel like we just fell through a portal with all this information. That's wild.
I had a knock on my door. So.
You did have a knock on your door, and man, did we answer. I feel like both of our auras are pulsating right now. It's insane.
Yeah. Good word. Not a little vagina, but it's fine.
Smutty romance novel.
Yeah, sorry.
Undulating.
Single girl. If you're interested in everything we talked about today, please go and do your own research. Yes. Find some books or some articles that bring interest to you and just dive the fuck in. Mm-hmm. Other topics that you can start looking at is reincarnation, karma, death, dreams. Jump in.
There's so many. I did want to throw down a book that I didn't really get to talk too much about, but it has a whole dang chapter entitled Working with a Spirit Guide. It is called Ancestral Tarot, Uncover Your Past and Chart Your Future. It's by Nancy Hendrickson. I've just recently started doing more work with this. If you are a tarot person, it would be a great book. I'll put it in our list of resources. I will send it to you. I believe I got it.
I need it.
I either got it at a Barnes & Noble or a Books-A-Million, which Books-A-Million is no longer really around, but probably on Amazon you could find. So, all right. Well, man, we did it all. Again, thank you so much, Katie, for sharing. Of course, I am so excited for the future.
More to come.
Hey, I'm so excited for the future of this, and I hope y'all had a great time listening and learning. And this is Soul Wild signing off. I'm Kate.
And I'm Katie.
Until next time, tap in.